Is there enough chairs out? Got enough, looks like we have enough chairs. If we have more people, we can always add some more back. So we're going to get going because it's a rainy night. I want to welcome everybody first. Thanks for coming out. And Dennis reminded me about there's a hockey game on tonight.
The hockey game.
The hockey game. So he says if you know the score, do not tell him.
Why not?
Don't let it out. He said, you want to go home and find out? Is that it? Okay? You might whisper it to you. Anyway, my name is Mary Smith, and I am the vice chair of 9 Chips 1825. And I would like to, at the beginning of our meetings, we like to do a land acknowledgement, so I'm going to read the one that we use as a corporation, as a group. 9 Chips 1825 acknowledges that our area is located on the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississauga and Anishinaabe. We are grateful to the First Nations peoples for their commitment and teaching about our earth and our relations. And I want to thank the Lakefield Legion for their kind support by providing the free use of this room. The Legion is amazing. Any not-for-profit gets free use of a room, and that's just wonderful for the community, this room. I want to thank Mike Chappell, who is here as president of the Lakefield Historical Society, and he's videoing this presentation, and then it can go on to YouTube and social media, and the whole world can watch this. So, no pressure, Verling, no pressure. So, and my technical support person, Al Smith, is going to be making sure that everything runs smoothly. Our chair, Brendan Moher, sends his regrets because he couldn't be here this evening. He had a work commitment. He's in Toronto. But he did have a chance to meet Verling yesterday, and he got a briefing on Mitchellstown because he's heading over there on Monday to be a part of a wonderful event in Cove when the commemoration will take place for the first ships, for the ships leaving. The first ship actually left on May 10, but they're doing it May 9th because that's a Friday and they can have the dignitaries there, and they're having a really nice event, and so it's great that he can be there to represent us. So we want to post some video of that too. It'll be great to see. I also want to acknowledge that there are 3 other members of the 9 Chips 1825 board of directors here this evening. Just stand up. Maureen Crowley, right there. And we've got Dennis Carter-Edwards and Elwood Jones. And thank you for coming. And thanks to my fellow board members for the hard work they do and in their help to make this Peter Robinson Irish Immigration Bicentennial Year a huge success. We want to thank also the many community partners who have and are planning many events, homecomings, musical events, plays, research opportunities, and much, much more. And some of you in the audience here tonight I know have been really involved in those community groups, and we really appreciate all that you're doing in this year. And the Peterborough Canadian Irish Club is 50 years this year, 50 years old, and they have planned a grand Irish gathering on Saturday, August 2nd at the Canadian Canoe Museum, and there's no doubt that this will be a memorable commemoration event. And Shelley Ryan, the president of the Irish Club, wave Shelley, you've got tickets with you, and she's happy to sell you some tickets. Don't miss out, because it's going to be a beautiful event. So if you go to the website, and Al's put this up here, I hope you're not seasick yet, but it's simply 9ships1825.com, and you can read the history of this emigration. You can check out all the events over the next few months and see the ongoing museum exhibits, community resources that you can visit any day almost throughout this year to learn more about this emigration. And finally, on the website, you'll have the opportunity to get tickets to the many events planned for August 1 to 10. So you can see there, if you go up to the top now, August 1 to 10 events, if you click there, and it'll show, if you go down, all these places you can go and visit. And some of them are like the Wild Irish Geese at Fourth Line Theatre, that's more specific to the summertime, but many of them are open throughout the year. And that was for the St. Patrick's Parade, we had the banner. But these are if you go down a bit further, he's a good technical support person. These are the specific events where they're ticketed. Some are free, but you still need to register. And most of them have a cost, but we've tried to keep the price very reasonable. So 9ships1825 is pleased to host guest speaker Verling Fitzgerald from Mitchelstown, County Cork in Ireland. And Verling has spent a couple days touring the area, visiting local attractions and meeting lots of people. And he'll be able to go back to Mitchelstown with lots of pictures, many pictures, and stories to tell about life in our Peterborough area. We talk a lot about Mitchelstown and County Cork in 1825. Don't we, Dennis and Elwood, our historians on the board? But the main area where the Peter Robinson Emigrants came from, Mitchelstown area, to settle in Peterborough. We're going to talk tonight, Verling's going to talk about Mitchelstown and the Ballyhoura region in 2025. Verling is Vice Chair of the Mitchelstown Community Council and works at Forest Hall Community Centre in Mitchelstown. And I think there's a picture of you, there might be a picture of that hall on here. A location hosting the Ballyhoura Economic Development Corporation. As well, Forest Hall hosts adult education classes where people learn about computers, gardening, upholstery, arts and crafts, and have access to meeting space for yoga classes and sports groups. Verling is a member of the Mitchelstown Fire Brigade and is a founding member of the Mitchelstown Allotment Centre, which has 40 members, and that's similar to our community garden program that's run in the area, Peterborough and Lakefield. Verling will be continuing on to Vancouver to visit his daughter, and they will be both competing in the Vancouver Marathon. And as if we didn't give him a marathon in Lakefield and Peterborough and Douro and Ennismore and Downeyville, he's been around the area in 2 days. But he then will continue his around-the-world trip to China and Thailand. And Verling enjoys running and staying active and is looking forward to doing marathons in the different cities he will be visiting on his trip. Thank you, Verling, for joining us this evening. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay. Okay, thanks everybody. Thanks for coming out tonight and in the wet night, and I hope that you get back in place for the match. I hope it's a good night. I hope. So, yes, thank you, Mary, for your introduction, and thanks very much. And so, yes, I start by introducing myself again and say, look, my name is Verling Fitzgerald, and from Mitchelstown in Cork, and I planned my trip to come over to Canada back in September last year. My daughter, as I said, we're talking about immigration over 200 years. It's still happening back home. Our young children are heading off around the world, Australia and Canada. And my daughter now, she's in Vancouver last year. And that's what they do when they come out of uni. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me okay now? So when they come out of uni, they like to travel around the world and hopefully they'll come back and settle down and start working at home. So of course we miss them, and you know, it's just nice to have the phone and talk to me every night. But you know, it's nice to head out there. And so look, I planned my trip anyway, coming over here to visit her in Vancouver, and you know, I do a bit of running as well. So I said, look, it'd be nice to go over, and we're both doing the marathon together. So yeah. And then at the time, I work in Forest Hall Community Centre and the Ballyhoura regional offices there as well. So I met a few people there, I worked with them, and they were telling me, Amanda, she was telling me about the story of the Peter Robinson, and I must admit, it's my first time hearing it, even though I'm from the area where they all left, and we weren't taught it at school, or we didn't know about it, and you know, so I was very interested and fascinated by it, and so I had to find out more. So coinciding with my trip to Vancouver, I said, yeah, I'd love to stop off on the way over, and so the trip, so the plane, of course, it was going to land in Toronto anyway, and I'd have to get a connecting flight over to it. So I said, I got in contact with Mary, and Amanda put me in onto her, and we were sending out emails and sending information, and so we eventually knuckled down and we made out a plan, and so I'm very happy to be here, and I'm very privileged, and thanks so much. And so I'm representing the Mitchelstown Community Council, and I'll be going back then and I'll be telling them my plenty of photographs and stories and people I've met, and I'll be able to tell them all my journey. So it's kind of a world tour for me. Instead of coming back home again from Vancouver back home over the Atlantic, I said I'd keep going west and go down the Pacific and do as much as I can and see as much as I can. It's only my one chance to do it. So yeah, so I went out to China, and I said I'd love to, another bucket list thing to do was do the Great Wall of China Marathon. So I signed up for that as well. So I'm kind of what's a midlife crisis kind of a person here now, you know. So I said, yeah, I might as well do that as well. 2 weeks later, so I'll be in China for a week, and see the culture then as well. And so I come home then, and I'll do the Cork City Marathon when I get home. So I finish it off with another run back home. So it's nice to run on 3 continents around the world, you know, like Phileas Fogg. But go back to the settlement. I mean, it took them over a month to come over here. I hopped on a plane in Dublin, and 7 hours later I landed in Toronto, and wow, you know, it's so, the world is so small then when you can travel like that, like, you know, around the world, and it's just amazing. And the story of the Peter Robinson story, really fascinated by it all, and it's nice I'll go home and I'll plenty of pictures and stories, and now I know some of you have been over to Mitchelstown in Ireland, and so it's nice for us to come over here as well, you know, and we go to the States. Some of you we have relations all over the place, so it's nice to come to Canada. It's my first time here in Canada, and I hope to come back again, and I really love the place, and you've got a wonderful country here. And we're all related. This is home away from home now, like, you know, so, but I was up in Dover yesterday, and, you know, Innismore today, and Downeyville, and in all the graveyards, and my God, it's like walking into a graveyard at home. Wow. I was blown away. All the names, and Crowleys, O'Neills, Foxes, all your names, all your ancestors, they're all there. Like, wow! I said, my God, it's just wow, blew me away. So it's like it's home away from home, you know. So yeah, that's my story anyway. So. So I have a few pictures taken back home. So you've probably seen them already if you were there, around Mitchelstown area where what we do and the town. It's a small town, about half an hour's drive from Cork City, and we're in the Ballyhoura area where the majority of the people that came over here 200 years ago, they came from, and there's a big contingent of them from the Mitchelstown area then as well. So when they left, there was a lot of buildings still there, and it's amazing. I'm still walking in the places in the town where they walked as well. 200 years ago. I mean, I'm still, it's amazing. Like I'm still walking in the places, and now I'm over here where they came over. So very poignant, So yeah, start the slide there, will be. Yeah. Oh yeah, here we are. So that's our local church now. Mary conceived without sin, the Immaculate Sin. 1847 it was built. So the famine now in 1845, and they were still able to build a church in the famine times, And there's some beautiful steps there. I got married in that church, and the wedding party were all in the steps, and we got lovely photographs there. And you're looking out over the town. It's a lovely area. And behind that church then is the local schools and the allotment centre and the playground, and so it's everything was up there. So I pass it every day. So that's the view now, looking down over the town, So there's a lot of, I was in a lot of graveyards now today and yesterday, and this is a real old one now as well. There's graves now going back to the 1500s, 1600s, really old graves in there now as well. You can see up here now that's where the castle once stood. There's a factory there now, a kind of a dairy factory, dairy mill, and what once stood there was our castle, the Kingston Castle, the Kingston Estate, which were the landlords of the area, where a lot of the descendants worked and lived. And so the story anyway about the landlords. They enticed, they gave them good written letters, so that they might get on the boats, and they were able to use the land, amalgamate bigger plots so they can make more rent out of it from other people. So the castle now was one of the finest castles in Ireland, but it burnt down 100 years ago during the Civil War. The IRA, they kind of they didn't like the landlords. There was a bit because they were ruling us, and so they burnt it down. So it's a pity they knocked it all down. Then years later there was ruins, and they moved it down to Mount Mellery, which is about 20 miles away, and they built a monastery with the stone. And Dairygold is the big local employer in the town, and they built a factory on the site. But if it was there today, we'd be on the map. You'd be all over there. Definitely, you'd all be coming for the castle and for the relations and everything. They'd be coming from all over the world. It would be on the map. But unfortunately, it was not to be. But I have no pictures of the castle now. But you could see them. You probably know. You've seen in the pictures already.
I have pictures.
Yes. Yeah. So this is the side of the church now, and down here now is another Dairygold site, another Dairygold factory where they make the cheese. It's the home of good food they call Mitchelstown. And I worked in another factory in the town. It's closed down now. It's the bacon factory, and it gave great employment to people in the town. But it changes all the time. And in the background are the Ballyhoura Mountains. So we're in the Ballyhoura region. That's the Ballyhoura Mountains now. Very lovely hills and walking hills and everything up there, So that's the town now. So the next picture. This is our community garden in allotments. We set it up 2015. We're 10 years there now, and you can see this is the Dairygold site. They make all the cheese. My father worked down there for 40 years, and out here you see there are the Galtee Mountains. the famous Galtee Mountains in. This is Galtee Moor, the second highest mountain in Ireland. It's only 950 meters high, so it's much smaller than the Rockies, like, you know. That's our tallest. Yeah. So So here's see, we forgot to clean the sign. Oh yeah. So yeah. So it's a lovely nestled between the Ballyhouras and the Galtee Mountains. Beautiful views all around. And as I said, I planted all my veg before I came over here. So hopefully when I get back, my strawberries will be ready to pick. So I look forward to that. And we have the playground next door then as well. So we've everything. The school's beside us. We have this, you know, so you don't need to go too far. So that's it. So we've grown. The first year we were in there, only 5 of us started it up, and now 10 years later we've 40 people and we've 40 plots. So we've grown slowly and steadily over the years, and yeah, we're very, very proud of it. You know, we have a good few polytunnels built as well, and you know, we're still growing the potato. After all these years, it's our staple diet, so we've never got away from it. The rhubarb there as well, I think. As I said, we must watch the sign. When I get back, I must do that. So that's the church now again, 1847. Yeah, that's there were tough times back then, of course, you know, just it was tough. So this is the local fire station now. I'm big into visiting fire stations wherever I go, and I got the pleasure to meet the fire people above in the new fire station in Peterborough yesterday. It was fabulous. I mean, a new station, and wow, it's net zero. It's, you know, it costs millions and millions. So this is our small little station. As I said, we're in a small town, and you know, I'm in the brigade now 30 years, and everywhere I go, I like to take pictures of fire brigades and fire engines, and so we're 30 years there. So yeah, that's our station there now in the centre of town. So this is St. George's Church now, the Protestant church now. It's turned into a local heritage and arts centre now, and I think there's going to be a function there now for when the people come over in September. There'll be a lovely function there. There'll be music, the whole you know, music programs there as well, and civil marriages. But it's deconsecrated now, you know, so they don't do any more services there. So they got a lot of money. In fairness, they did put on a new roof. They put on a roof there a couple of years ago, funding and the great grants and funding for it all. They have a great committee there running it. So there's now inside. I didn't get in there that day, but inside there, you know Walt Disney. There was an uncle of Walt Disney who was. Now it's not 100% proven yet, but. So Walt Disney, he went over from England, and he set up. Or his father went over, and just like so his uncle was a Reverend Disney, and there's a big plaque inside on the wall. So they're tracing that at the moment as I speak to see is there a connection with Mr. Walt Disney. So that'll be nice one from Mitchelstown. And another famous, you know the Henry Ford Motor Company. I mean we count him as our own. So he's from Corkman. His father, Henry Ford's father, was born in County Cork, and he immigrated as well back in the late 1800s. And Henry was born in the States, and he's so we were claiming him as well. So we're a small people, a small country, but we like to claim things like that, you know. So that's the story of Mr. Walt Disney. So here we have at King Street, top of King Street now, we have a lovely, can you see all, yeah? So you have a lovely, this is the old courthouse down here, and the church is right behind us. So it's really down a hill, and here down, just behind this car is a local square, the Market Square. So it's a beautiful, it's well, you know, it's aligned where the two buildings are. The old courthouse. Now it's owned now by the local shopping centre. Super Value, and they run a shop in there, you know, a big shop. But it's still open anyway, you know, even though it's not, it's still working away. Yeah. So St. George's again. So around the town now, it's a historical town, and there's a lot of old buildings, and there's just an old picture of the castle here where it once stood, but it was burnt down, as of course, and it was by the IRA back in 100 years ago. So there's a lovely walking areas around the town as well, and there's lovely architecture and heritage buildings, and you know, around the town. There's a few, you know, you've probably seen them anywhere around on the streets, and to tell you about where everything is and all that. So, Ballyhoura, Mitchelstown. Okay. Oh, fire station got in again. Oh. The camera was a bit. So here we have Kingston Square. So August 1780. So as I said, there's some buildings there. When the Robinson settlement, the people that left the town and the area, they would have been there and walking in the area, seen the buildings that we see today as well. You know, it's very important, yeah. And as I said, there's historical walking trails around the town. It's owned by this building now is owned by a doctor, Kingston Square, and beside it then there's a big hotel. Kingston Hotel, which was serviced all the servants and all that leading up to the castle. So the castle was just up the hill from Kingston Square. It's a well laid out town now, very well laid out. You know, it's probably 500, more than 500 years old now. It's well laid out. So again, there's a bit of history then as well. William Trevor, he's a local, well he was a local, he was born in the town, he used to write a load of books, Felicity's Journey and all that. There's an old picture of the castle here again, but it's hard to see and what, you know, inside it and all that. But when you come over, you'll be able to read it all and you'll be able to see it all, you know, there's loads of things to see and do. Yeah.
Notice the literary people, Mary Wollstonecraft, Percy Shelley, and George Bernard Shaw.
Yeah, they're all connected with Mitchelstown, George Bernard Shaw and what's the name again? Lily Shelley. Yeah.
Percy Shelley.
Percy Shelley.
And Mary Wollstonecraft.
So we have the pump, King Square pump, and you know it's 1825. So the water pump was erected by George, the 3rd Earl of Kingston, in 1825. So when he got the people off his land, he went away and he built the pump. He probably had a bit of money saved up from it. But so you'll see the pump now in a minute, you know. A water pump, so there's the pump now, you know, in Kingston Square. It's a lovely Georgian square, and it's well preserved. There's people living in all in houses now, and as I said, they're just 250 years old. They were built or something more than that. But there, about 3 years ago, 6 of the houses were a bit in bad repair. So there was a grant from the Heritage Society and also the Kingston estate, well not the estate but the Church of Ireland. They were able to get a bit of money and they were able to do up the 6 houses, and you know, a lot of the work was done voluntary, so tradespeople came along, did up all the houses for the Ukrainians. We took in a load of Ukrainians as well in the Mitchelstown area when the war started over there, and a lot of the families, the mothers and their children came over, and we housed them in the Kingston College, in the Kingston Square, and they're still there today. 3 years on, they're still there today. Hopefully, you know, they'll get back there, get back home someday. But you know, we have and in the Forest Hall, as I said, it's an education centre as well. We put on classes for the Ukrainian people, for the asylum seekers as well. We have in Mitchelstown, we have a good population of foreign nationals coming in. So we run education classes, English classes for them as well in the town, you know. So yeah, you see a lot of. I run down there sometimes, you know. It's a nice little runway around there, and you'd see the children out, and it's nice because when I was down through the years, there was no one out, you know. There's a lot of elderly people out there, and there was hardly no one out. But it's a nice run down and see young children out playing in the field, and Ukrainian children, and they're on little bicycles, and they're happy, like, you know. It's nice to see that. Yeah. So yeah, so our main industry in the town is dairy industry, because we are a rural town, and Dairy Gold is the main factory. Well, we have two factories now, you see. We have Dairy Gold and Kerrygold. So you probably heard of Kerrygold butter. So all the butter we make here in Kerrygold, it's a new plant. It's shipped over here to Canada and the US, a lot of it, and hopefully Mr. Trump, he doesn't put the tariffs on it, because we could be in trouble. We could be in trouble. And my wife works there, so hopefully her job is okay. The Dairy Gold. Yeah, so I mean, go back there 20 years ago, nearly 1 in every 3 houses in Mitchelstown worked in the local factories. They were all dairy factories, but a lot of them now have reduced and closed down. I mean, same here in Peterborough in the area, a lot of old factories have closed down, and you know, different, and you know, you reskill yourself and you get another job somewhere else, and you start another job and maybe in a different factory. So that's but Dairy Gold is the main, one of the main employment companies in the town, you know. So here now is where you can see it up high. The castle was there where it stood, and you could see the town. I took the picture now from the kind of a road around the town, a bypass road, but the town I was in up here, and up here then is a factory. We do cream, the processed cream then in the St. Lord to make the butter, and also a lot of dry powder for baby formula. To China takes a lot of it off us, so we got to keep it with China then as well. Yeah. So this Kerrygold then. Yeah, there's a new plant. In 2016 they built it. As I said, my wife works there. Gives great employment to the town. Yeah, that was great. This is the road down into the town then. So you can still see the church, and that's the old convent beside it. It's again, the nuns have gone out of the town 20 years, and they had a lovely big convent and a nursing home for the retired nuns, and a local, a development company bought it in years ago, and at the moment they're building houses up there. So there's a big shortage of houses in Ireland and in Mitchelstown, so it's great to see houses being built, because there's so many people coming in, you know, there's a big demand for houses and all that in Ireland, and they're very expensive then as well. The prices of houses have jumped massively over the years. I mean, an average house now in Mitchelstown, which is not it's not a city, it's a small town. Like, I mean, you could be paying, I don't know, 350,000 for a 3-bedroom house, €1,000, which would be $500,000. With it, something like that. Yeah, it's a lot of money for young people to try to get a mortgage. So it is it's very hard. But as I said, there's loads of employment. There's loads of opportunities, loads of employment in Ireland. It's the lowest it's ever been in employment. There's loads of jobs, and as I said, all our young people are heading off around touring around the world in Vancouver. We must try to bring them back. Okay. So that's in the square now again, and you know, the mountains, there's Galtymore now again, the second highest mountain in Ireland, 950 metres. There's just probably a small hill over here. So Newmarket Square now again. So this is our local patriot, Mr. John Mandel. he was a land leader, land league leader. So what he was is, you know, when the rents were put up on the farms and the land by the Kingstons, and the rents were put up high, and you know, you want to rebel if someone's put up, the landlords put up the rents all the time, you're going to say, oh, I can't afford it anymore. You know. So they started a group, they started a lot of meetings and in the town to say we have to stop all this, you know, putting the prices up as too, we can't, and then if they can't pay, then they're being evicted out of the, you know, that's what they do, they evict you. So there was a big rally in the town square back in 1887, and John Mandeville was giving a speech talking about it, and he was arrested by the local constabulary, you know, the local police, because he was giving a speech. They were arresting him for disturbing the peace. So there was a bit of a heckling going on, there was a bit of pushing and shoving with the police, and the police ran back to their police headquarters, and they got the guns, and they came out and they shot 3 people at the rally. So it was called the massacre of Mitchelstown by Disraeli, the English, the British Prime Minister, when he heard about it, you know. It says, remember Mitchelstown. So that's a black day as well in Mitchelstown in 1887, when John Mandeville was arrested and he was thrown into jail, and he died in jail. So we erected, about 120 years ago, we erected a statue of John Mandeville in the town, remember him, like, you know. So that was maybe in this next slide, maybe they might show where the 3 people fell. You know, so again, it's hard to read it here, but when you're back home, or when you go back to Ireland, you know, you'll be able to see lots of information about all that, you know. And here now is a memorial where Michael Londrigan, John Chinnock and John Casey were shot to death in Mitchelstown on the 9th of September 1887 during the Land League War. 2 of them were shot where the life, so 2 of them shot were there, and another was shot further down, a small bit more. So that's, there's a light that comes on there, yeah. So it's in their memory. Innocent, just shot like that, like, you know, just, that's what happened back in the day. So that's the square now. So Forest Hall is just up the top of the square, the corner here. The Clongiven House is here, the local hotel, and it's a lovely market square. And every Thursday we have a market there, and people sell all their wares, you know, like a car boot sale, and there'll be stalls set up, vegetables and fruit and clothing and tools, DIY stuff, all stuff like flowers, everything you can, whatever you want, you can buy there in the square, you know. So every Thursday. So that's Mitchelstown. Just going down Lower Cock Street now, and there's the old courthouse there, as I said. Local bank. So there's John Mandeville now, his statue here. Yeah, in the square. And you notice all the signs are all dirty, but we have a tidy towns committee now, and I get my God, I get up in the morning and I see about 30 or 40 pictures. The local tidy towns, they're really pushing the boat out now. They're cleaning the town, and all the signs are all washed and cleaned now, and it's looking spotless, and there's no weeds, and they're out every evening. They're cleaning around the place. You know, there's a great committee just started up, and they're getting on top of everything now. So it's a fantastic work is being done. About maintaining the town and keeping it tidy. That's Upper Cock Street though again. Here now is where 2 of the people were shot, and this building here was the local police station. So you can see they came out there shooting, and unluckily there was 2 men there, and another one further down. So, Market House, 80. So we thought, so the pump, remember the pump was 1825? So the Market House was built in 1825. So, as I said, you got all the people off the land, they had a bit of money then maybe, and they splashed out and they built a few places, the Kingstons. So it's a local, beside now it's a local shopping centre here, super value. So. Okay, yeah, it's the last slide. So yeah, so that's Mitchelstown now, and as I said, a few of you have been there. So I will come over and join us again in Colin. We have a small tourist information office in Mitchelstown now as well, in Forest Hall, at the top of the square. And if you ever, if you need records about your ancestors in as well, you can't get it from the local church or the rectory. It has to be back in Mallow, which is about half an hour's drive. To keep all the records there from the churches and the graves back there, you'd have to look up, you'd have to go back there to check it out if you were ever looking for information about the graves and all that, that's Mitchelstown. What else did I say? I think I'll have a drink. 1 second.
Maybe people have questions. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, any questions?
I have a question. When I was there in 1970, I went to the ruins of a church and a cemetery.
Yes.
Is that still there?
It is. Brigone Cemetery.
Brigone.
Yeah. And we have a patron saint called Saint Fanahan. We named the local school Saint Fanahan's College, where I went to school there. And we have the local well, St. Fanahan's Well, where you go down a lovely path, and it's supposed to be holy water. There's a lovely well down there by the river. So yes, the old graveyard is there, and we have mass there every year for the dead. The community council, which I'm a member of, we have mass there every year in the graveyard for all the people who passed on. And the ruins are still there, yeah, and there's a lot of really old tombs and hundreds of years, going back hundreds of years, right, Yeah, it's a really fascinating place to see that. That's right, yeah, it's still there.
Last time we were there, we stayed in Yule and Cove and went to Middleton Brewery. Where is Mitchelstown? We never heard of it.
Right, yes. The motorway, we're right beside the motorway, the Cork to Dublin motorway. So we're only half an hour from Cork City. Middleton and Yule now would be down East Cork. We are North Cork. Now Cork is the biggest county in Ireland. Now I know that Ontario is like the continent itself. Never mind Canada. I know, but we'll go back to where we are. I mean, if I was to drive to Dublin now, 2 hours, that's a long drive for me. I get tired. But you guys can drive about 10 hours, no problem at all. So, I get very, because our driving now is only short drives, maybe 20 miles or 30 miles at the most, there's that we drive around the place. But North Cork, and between counties of Tipperary and Limerick, so the Galtee Mountains span nearly 3 counties, so we're right in the top corner of the right East Cork, and if you're ever travelling from Cork to Dublin, which are the 2 main cities, and the motorway, it's only 2.5 hours Cork to Dublin on if you hire a car, but we're only 2 hours from Dublin and half an hour from Cork, so we're very, very well located in the country. Yeah.
Everything's 2 hours from Dublin.
Yes, everything is 2 hours, yeah. You'll be on the coast, you could be the east coast or the west coast, yeah. You could one side of the country to the other. I mean, we're only a small little rock on the periphery of Europe, and you throw a rock into the ocean in West Cork, and a little ripple goes over and all the way off to America, The next stop is over here, So we we're very proud of our, you know, because we were just a small country, and as I said, go back there now, you know, 200 years ago when they all came over here, I mean, there was a big population in the country, but I don't know, was it 8 million people lived in Ireland at that time during the famine, and now we've only 5 million today, and we're only 4 million maybe only 30 years ago. You know what, the population had, you know, over that time with the famine, and everyone scattered around the country, the world, they had to immigrate, they had no choice. Yeah, it's sad, alright, but as I said, they're doing it now for fun. You know, the young people, they're all heading off, and shall we, you know, all the way down through the years, I know now, the 50s now, there was a load of immigration as well, there was no employment, there was, especially the west of Ireland now, they all, mainly, over the west of Ireland, they all headed over the Atlantic, over to the States and Canada, and a lot of them headed to Liverpool and in the UK. And then in the 1980s, with a big recession then in the 1980s, I remember it well because I was a small young fella, but they were all queuing up at the airports to get out of the country because there was no employment, they saw no future, you know, and they all headed to the States, and by the thousands. A lot of them are undocumented, like, you know, so they're still there, a lot of them are undocumented. Yeah.
Ship them at any time now.
Yeah, yes. Right, yes.
When we were in Ireland in 2013 for the gathering with Mary and Al and another couple, we did have a stop at the Heritage Center in Cove. I think it's called the Immigration Museum.
Yeah.
I remember walking through and being anxious to see what displays they would have on the Irish migration to Canada, in particular to Peterborough. And the only little panel I saw that related to Canada was the Grove Seal Memorial for the Irish that died there during the famine. Nothing about the Peter Robinson experiment. I say Peter Robinson,
Yes.
the British experiment. And that was our experience in some of the other events that were part of the gathering. The story of the Robinson migration never made it on the radar.
No.
And I wondered why this very successful planting of an Irish community in Canada just didn't resonate. But the more I thought about it, the more I saw it did not fit the Irish narrative. Here you have a group of Irish sponsored by the British government, paid and supported, and migrated to Peterborough, where they became steadfast, loyal, dedicated, hardworking British subjects.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what your take on that is, why this story has been not really well known in Ireland. Is because it's not part of the bigger story of Ireland and the hardships they suffered under British rule.
Yeah, no, you know, when I was going to school now, in the history books and all that, you know, there was an immigration, but not in the Peter Robinson one. Immigration and the famine, we learned that in school, of course, yeah, it's just very important, we learned all about that. And maybe, you know, that was maybe the big picture at that time, the famine was immigration through that, but they probably didn't pick out an example of the immigration. They probably, the Robinson settlement, probably they didn't pick out that. But now, yes, it's very important now, and that's why I'm over here, because I'm passionate about it now, and when I go back, and we're actually, you know, putting it out there now, like, you know, and hopefully, again, in 200 years' time, that there'll be more people even have more records, and our further generations will be here, and there'll be a me here in 200 years again, hopefully, and more, you know, so yes, I didn't learn anything about, well, it wasn't, as I said, I only heard about it only last year, so, you know, but definitely no, we would put it out there, yeah.
One of the challenges we faced in starting off the 9 Chips program was to distinguish the 1825 migration from what everyone associates migration with the famine.
Yeah.
This is a much different story. It's a pre-famine story, but it had an impact on the famine because the British government decided after the Robinson experiment they were no longer going to fund immigration schemes. So when the famine broke in the 40s, families and communities were on their own
Yeah,
to support Irish leaving to go to another place.
that's right, yeah. They kind of, they turned their backs on us.
Yep.
And they didn't support us.
Yep.
And some say they were one of the causes of the famine, that they didn't,
Yep.
they turned their back to it. And down through the years, the Irish diaspora abroad, they found it hard to, well, not settle, but they did settle, and they were brilliant at it, and they worked hard, they absolutely. But in the UK now, and you'd hear the term, we were always said, like the Irish were treated bad abroad, not here, but maybe in the UK,
Sometimes here as well.
no, there's loads of jobs up and there. They go in off the street and say, oh yeah, I'm here for the job, and sorry, no Irish need apply.
Yeah.
That's what they're told.
Yeah.
No blacks and no Irish need apply. That's what they were. Yeah, that's what they're up against. Yeah.
Now, it must also be remembered that there was an 1823 Peter Robinson ex-immigration.
Yeah.
And my wife's people owned both the 1823 and the 1825.
Oh wow, yeah, fantastic. They like travelling. No. Yes. But the first group came over. Today they laid the groundstone, didn't they? They did a lot of work for the major group. Then 2 years later, didn't they? They kind of had built the houses and
In
get it ready. Yeah.
1823, they couldn't get anybody to go.
That's right. Yes. Yeah, that's right. They were suspicious maybe and to leave and all that, But as I said, the crops are starting to fail, and then the landlords were putting up the rents, and it was getting tough over there. And maybe in 1825, then when they saw that, they were with chances. They probably got. Did they get any letters back from the group, from the 1825 group, to tell them that it's okay over here? We're settling down over here. With the food, we can grow.
Actually, one of the people who couldn't make it tonight has made a file of letters from Canada back to Ireland.
Okay.
Peter McConkie.
Okay. So he wrote home. He wrote home to his relatives, did he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
people wrote back,
Yeah.
and that was what made it more favorable
Okay.
for
Yeah.
the 25.
Yes.
There were 50,000 people
That applied.
applied
Yeah. That
for the
applied.
25 immigrants.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's amazing, right? Yeah. Hi, Tricia.
Just jumping ahead to the future, you spoke a few minutes ago about that there's so much employment.
Yeah.
That's really positive to
Yes.
hear that.
Yeah.
What do you think has created that in Ireland?
Well, I suppose, as I say, going back to the 70s and 80s, we were the poorest country in Europe. Ireland was the poorest country in Europe. Mass unemployment and investment, but the governments now, in fairness to the politicians, they were able to see, look, what can we do something different. So we invited in a lot of the American companies, and they're all set up now in Ireland, foreign direct investment. And we set up the IDA, Industrial Development Association, and they were bringing in these Irish, because the American companies wanted to set up in Europe and they wanted a base in Europe, so we were English speaking, so we were the first stop into Europe, so we were strategically, was located for them to do that, and also we gave them a great deal that if you set up here, we won't charge you big corporation tax. So you probably heard about our Irish corporation tax. Mr. Trump was talking about it all the time. We were enticing all the companies off, but that started it. The companies came in and they set up in Ireland, and slowly but surely, and because it helped as well, a lot of immigration, they all left. So who stayed behind, and you know they were able to get the jobs, and slowly but surely over 10 years, and by the early 1990s, we were, you know, I was in work that time, and yeah, the country was starting to turn the corner, and we were starting to grow and get confident, and people were, I mean, the rates of the houses back in the time, paying mortgages, savage money to the banks, and eventually then, you know, it all became good. And of course, 1990 was another big turning year in Ireland, and it'll go down in history, when the World Cup was on in Italy, and Ireland qualified, and it was the greatest shot of feel-good factor you could get, because the whole country was euphoric. Our first time, you know, because we're sporting mad, of course, like yourselves, and to actually get to the World Cup, first time ever in 1990, and we had a great team now, for us. We had a great team, and a lot of the players played in the English Premiership, in the English, they all played over there actually. So, they played with great teams, Liverpool and Manchester United and all that. So we had a fantastic team and a great manager, an English manager called Mr. Jack Charlton. He was a World Cup winner himself back in '66. But so the euphoria and the feel-good factor, and we won our group, and we got into the knockout stages, and a guy, and we played Italy. We knocked out Romania on penalties, and the lads that scored the penalties, and Packie Bonner, the goalie that saved it, will forever go down as legends in Irish sporting history, you know. And we got into the quarterfinals and to play Italy, and we actually went to the Pope and all. We got the whole team, and Jack Charlton, they went to the Vatican City, and they got a blessing from the Pope, the whole lot, to beat Italy. And a guy called Mr. Scalacci, Toto Scalacci, he was a striker with Italy. He scored 2 goals and knocked us out, and we were knocked out. And everyone in Ireland after that were called Scalacci. Hey Scalacci, hey Scalacci, we were calling each other Scalacci. And that's what you ever hear. Did you ever hear ole, 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 ole in Ireland? That's our team song, and the songs that came out. But the pubs were full up. Everyone was watching the pubs, the matches in the pubs, the whole World Cup. It was a feel-good factor. The population went up again because everyone was so happy and everything, you know. Everything went up, like, you know, so it was fantastic. And even, you know, the matches on at 3 o'clock in the day, the whole country was shut down. The factories would close early. You go in the morning, maybe 5 o'clock, and do your shift and finish at 2. So you'd go home, or you'd go up to the pub and watch the match. There's no one at home, like, you know, with the children. And the streets, and we wouldn't imagine that all the streets in Dublin was flags, and it's just before. But it forever goes down as you know, the start of the turning of the country and the economy. 1990 pushed it on again, and into the 1990s we got stronger and stronger. And you know, now we're one of the richest countries in Europe per capita. From being 30 years earlier, we were the poorest. But foreign direct investment, and of course now Mr. Trump he wants to change all that again. So we're getting worried. You know, we're all worried. We're all in the same boat, you know. But that was the story with Ireland anyway. So as I said, we're a small country, but we're so proud. We punch above our weight, and because Mr. Rory McIlroy, he had a fantastic victory there a couple of weeks ago, put us on the map again. And of course, before, in the 1980s, our greatest export was U2. You know, so now we've everything gone out of Ireland, you know, so it is fantastic, like, you know. And so our football team have gone down a bit now again lately in the last number of years. We haven't qualified for any tournament or any World Cup. But, you know, so next year now is the World Cup in the USA and Canada and Mexico. So you're going to have a big tournament next year now, and yeah, we will be watching every game. But hopefully we'll be back again. But you know, our rugby team is the #1 rugby team in the world. I mean, now the All Blacks they can have something to say about that, but we do get to the World Cup in the rugby. But we always have to. We flatter to deceive. You know, we're #1 seeds going in there. You know, but when we come up against South Africa or New Zealand, they do enough to beat us, like, you know, but hopefully it will change someday. But yeah, we're proud of our country, yeah. Any other questions, buddies? So yeah, look. God, I've been saying the clock already. The match is on. What? Oh my God, you said it all. Thank you very much. Oh my God.
Thanks so much, Verling. That was great, and you know, we always learn when we travel. This was an opportunity for us to travel and learn about another community in a way. And I've never heard of volunteers getting out and washing the signs before. But that's great that they are so keen on the Tidy Towns project. It's really wonderful. But no, thanks for all your observations about your community, because some of us have been there, but some haven't, and maybe some will be there in the future, and the more we learn about other countries, the better. So I just wanted to say that 9 Ships 1825 looks forward to sharing information about your visit and maybe your talk. Well, thanks, Mike, for recording it. So we'll encourage folks to watch that online and maybe even head over one of these days. But I also want to, on that note, talk about what they are doing in Ireland in September. And some of us in this group are going over, and it's called the Ireland-Canada Homecoming 2025. And it's called Remembering the Peter Robinson Settlers of the Ballyhoura Region 200th Anniversary, and it's September 15th to the 21st. And Verling mentioned Amanda Slattery. She's the manager of the Economic Development Corporation in Ballyhoura, and they're working really hard with lots of volunteers in their communities to receive visitors. And there'll be bus trips and events in St. Stephen's Church, a concert, and many things happening. So if you're at all interested and you haven't signed up, Marlin Travel has been fantastic in supporting us getting over there, and the people over there who are coming for our events, August 1st to 10th. So on that note, I just want to see, have I forgotten anything, Maureen? Dennis, Elwood? No. Okay, well listen, I want you to have a chance to chat with Verling and chat with each other, because I know a lot of you are related. That's what happens when this group gets together. We find out who's cousins with who. And thanks so much for coming out on this wet evening, and watch for more activities. In fact, I think the next one is Norwood, the research weekend.
Yes,
Paula?
May 10th and 11th.
May 10th and 11th in the Westwood Heritage Center. So it never stops. Just keep an eye on all the events. And thanks so much, folks.